Hello, this is Dale Ellentenny and Alex Carlucci with the Gus and Joe team, and we are pleased to be joined by Eric Jeanette with FHA Lenders. And we're here tonight to talk about fix and flips. About if you're a real estate investor out there and you're looking to buy a property. I have a client I'm working with right now. She happens to be a realtor as well. She and her son are out looking for a fix and flip. In this case, I think they're going under contract here real soon on a single family home. And so what is a fix and flip? I mean, a fix and flip is basically you've identified a property. You can get it for, let's say, 250,000, like this is my example. They estimate they have to put 100,000 into it. And their after repair value is going to be somewhere between 425 and 450. What's that? Anyways, so to start, like what's the loan to value? I get the questions on what does your FICO score have to be? In my situation, I'm actually possibly going to be using hard money financing because this lady has limited experience. She's done one deal in the last 36 months. They look pretty hard at that. And that a lot of times more so than FICO score dictates like what the down payment's going to be. So right. in this case, she can put down 35%. Get 100%, the construction dollars. In this case, it'd be $75,000 to $100,000, and it would be on like a very short-term loan, like 12 to 18 months, interest only. The idea is to get in and out of the property relatively quickly. So, I mean, in her particular case, I think she has a 640 score, but the underwriter that I spoke with wasn't as concerned about FICO score as they were with experience. How about you, Eric? What do you see on the deals that you run by, come across?
Yeah. So, the lenders I work with will do it with no experience. But here's what I'm seeing. If it's a purchase, you're putting 20% down on the purchase price, and then they will lend up to 75% of the after repair value. Okay. So let's do some simple numbers that are easy to track without a calculator. If you buy the property for 100,000, you put 20% down, which is 20,000, and they'll loan you 75% of the after repair value. So let's say the after repair value when you're done is worth 200, you'll be able to borrow 150, which is 75% of the 200. Okay, and they'll pay you the money. They're not just going to hand you that money, the rehab money at closing. You're gonna pull it out in draws, make sure that you're actually doing the work and not going to Vegas with the money. And then at the end, when you're finished, you're either gonna flip it, which is sell it, or if you decide you want to keep it, then you're gonna refinance out of your fix and flip loan into a long-term permanent loan, because usually the fix and flip loans are a little bit higher interest rate because they're only supposed to be, you're holding on to it just for the amount of time you're actually rehabbing the property. So credit scores usually over 660, but you might find someone that'll go lower, but you might need a larger down payment if your credit scores are lower.
So let me tell you what I know about these. These are, I haven't done one in a while, but in the past, all the investors that I've dealt with, like Dale was saying, the experience is everything, and they want to develop relationships with you. So they don't want the one-off for you to submit to them that wants the 20% down. So the more and more you stick with this one investor that we assign to you, the better the deal is the next time. And I've seen as little as 10% down once you're an experienced fix and flipper with one investor only. And I've seen them as, some of them are 9-month programs, not even 12 or 18, and they want you in and out of there in 9 months. And they really don't want you to turn it into an end loan, but you can, but they want you to sell it and do another one and do it again. So what I found on the 9-month programs that I did back in the past is if you didn't sell it after the 9th month, they're going to charge you a fee until you sell it or refinance out of it. So you really want to hit your mark on getting rid of it, but you also want to do it to take advantage, to get to know these people, and it gets easier and easier, and you become partners with these investors we assign to you. So they're looking for people not to do a one-off, but over and over and over again. And this is a great way to find, I mean, right now on the market, there's not a lot of houses, but there's plenty of junk. There's plenty of houses that aren't habitable. And you find one, you got $100,000 house that needs another 80,000 worth of work. If you've got, 30,000 right now, 36,000, you get in it and you flip it and sell it for 250, you walk away with $50,000 in your pocket, and you reinvest it and do it again and again. And you could take advantage of all these houses. Like Detroit's full of $40,000 houses that are probably worth 250 if they're fixed up. So there's areas that have tons of these inventory sitting there, and no one's working on them because they're just so hard, so much work, and nobody has got the capital and wants to invest in that area. And you could take advantage of that and become an investor in the whole area and revamp the neighborhood, in a couple of years.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, think about what you said, Alex. I mean, you buy something like in Detroit or any other big urban area, and you get it for under 100,000, and you put in 100,000, you're going to be able to sell it in today's world. $250,000 is nothing, right? On a home
Yeah.
value.
Yeah.
So the other thing that I'll mention is, yes, you're absolutely right, Alex. It's the more a lender gets comfortable with you, the better the terms can be for you down the road, especially with the down payment. The other thing you need to think about is if there's a chance you might keep the property and want to refinance it and then hold it and rent it out, you need to make sure that that lender that's doing your fix and flip loan can also be the lender that'll do your permanent financing. And I say that
Right.
because if you go somewhere else, they're going to have a seasoning issue where
Right.
you bought the property 6 months ago or 4 months ago or 3 months ago, and now you want it appraised on its new value. A new lender might not accept that new value because of you don't have the seasoning since the day you bought it.
Right.
So you have to understand what your plan is. And that's why I like to talk to people about what they're planning to do and be honest about it, because that could change the direction.
Right. And for owner occupied, there's plenty of different construction loans out there. They offer, unique variety of construction loans for owner occupants, but for investors, there's not a lot. It's hard to find it. And you develop this relationship, you're going to find it's easier and easier as you go along. Next one's easier, the next one's easier. And plus you'll get experience becoming it. So the first one's the hardest one for you if you're not experienced. If you're experienced, then it becomes easier. They look at your resume over the last 24 months. You got three fix and flips. You might be looking at 10% down. You never know. So you want to get that experience in.
Yeah, and if this is your first buy and you don't even own a home yet and you're renting, what I would consider is the FHA 203K rehab loan for your first one, because especially if you want to do, you can do up to 4 units. Now you got 3.5% down. You probably got a better rate, and you've got to make it your primary residence for a year, but at least you're going to get that first one with great terms, and then maybe the next one you get, you're going to do a regular fix and flip loan with an investor lender. But if you don't have a primary yet and you want to start getting into real estate, that's a good first one to choose.
And you could do multi-unit properties on this, sometimes beyond 4 units.
Yes, they do let you do commercial. Now, if you want to convert a commercial into a single family home, that's a great opportunity. You can convert properties. I've seen that.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
There's
It's a little
like
harder.
Alex said, there's junk out there, Eric, right? That could be possibly rehabbed and fixed and flipped.
Yeah.
There's a supply problem that this could help
Yes.
the supply.
No, what I'll also say is at the moment, lenders prefer buildings that are housing, and they're shying away from financing retail and office space and warehouses and things like that. It's a little harder to get financing for those kinds of things. But if it's residential places where people live, then you're going to have your choice of quite a few lenders that are willing to finance it for you.
Right.
Yeah, the commercial space, what Eric's talking about that's getting very tight.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're seeing a lot of vacancies right now. You drive up and down the highway in many cities and you see empty places. And so they're worried about that. They're worried about your ability to sell it, to get out of the fix and flip loan.
Right.
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
What's your exit strategy? I can tell you, this is what the underwriter I was speaking with asked for my client who was looking. you know, real simple, just we complete an application. We don't even have to put employment or income on it. You know, verify assets, you know, what level of experience do you have? And one important thing is give us an itemization of the scope of work of what you want to do. You know, they have to have some idea what you want to do, and they're going to be able to determine what the after repair value is so they can, you know, make their calculations.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, I
And
mean,
that,
you can tell them
and
what
the
you think.
investors want to know that too.
Yeah, you can tell them what you think it is, but they're going to verify that.
Right. Yep. So in my case, you know, my client's a realtor herself, so she's got a good handle on what the area and what the sales are locally. So
Mhm.
it's important. But I mean, I don't, Eric, I haven't done well, I take that back. A couple of years ago, I did somebody with no experience with one of our lenders. It was 30% down, and I think she got 90% of the construction dollars. And it was a higher
Right.
rate, interest only, but she ended up selling it. She was another realtor. She ended up selling it, making, you know, money on it.
Mhm. Right.
So it was worth it for her to do it.
Yeah.
You have to start somewhere.
Yeah, and I also think that you you want to do deals that are not tight. Things happen in construction,
Yeah.
and you could end up being underwater on the deal if you're not careful. You got to remember you're going to pay potentially, you know, real estate fees when you sell it, and you don't want to be going through all of this to make $10,000. You know, because the $10,000 can go away pretty quickly if the inspector finds something that is not the code that was there, an existing condition, and you can't say, well, I bought the property this way. He'll say, well, now you got to fix it. So these are things that could happen. You need to make sure that you've got enough profit built into the deal
Yeah.
to absorb any costs that you can't see yet.
You got a budget for things that are unforeseen.
It happens all the time.
Yes.
So
If you're running too thin, more often than not, you could end up underwater on the deal.
exactly. Especially maybe market comes down a bit, you know, by the time you're done, I mean, anything can happen. Rates go through the roof, and then therefore it's not palatable for the next buyer. You have to make sure that you've got enough profit in there. Otherwise, it's just not worth the risk.
Well, another good thing to do it during this time is we know that values are strong. Rents are strong now too. I mean, every buyer I talk to complains about the rent that they were just leaving. But some people will hold on to these properties, and then, you know, we'll put them in a DSCR, non-QM loan, and
Yeah.
you know, they can just transition right into it and
Yeah.
keep it as a rental property
Mm-hmm.
until if they feel like right now is not the right time to flip it.
Right. Yeah.
So that option does exist. And I would say most of these fix and flip lenders also have a DSCR program. So
Mm-hmm.
you can move it right over to them.
Yeah. And that's important, like I said, because you'll end up with a seasoning situation or a problem with another lender that didn't do the fix and flip loan for you.
Yes. Alex, you still there?
I'm here.
He's
Listen to
absorbing
you
it.
guys. You're doing good. Yeah.
No, that's pretty much it. You know, there's not a ton to talk about on this, but I think there's an opportunity with it out there right now. I really do.
Yep. I agree.
There is.
And if you
There
have an
is.
understanding of your market and the values, like Eric said, you budget accordingly for unforeseen things, you can make some money.
Yep.
Yeah. And understand what things increase the value. And you focus on doing things that increase value.
And with the
Really.
shortage of housing, it should be easy to sell it once you're done.
Mhm.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep. I mean, that's a whole other video we can do is what are the things that will increase value in a home when you're doing rehabs or thinking
Yeah.
about selling your house. And that's a whole other, you know, half an hour long conversation, but
Next Thursday, that's our video.
okay, we'll do that. I have quite a few things already here waiting to talk about
Got
that.
it.
So,
All right.
you know,
Hey, that's all I have to say on this. I thought it was something we should talk about. Doesn't mean we have to talk all night about it, but there definitely is
Yeah.
opportunity in there. And you know, the first thing is to talk to a loan officer and just get an application, you know, it's a thin application, and get a couple of documents, assets, your scope of work,
Yeah.
and we can find out, you know, what level of experience you have or don't have, find out what we can do.
Yep.
Yeah, in fact, with some of these, we could potentially get a quote without even, before even having to do the full app. I mean, it's nice to have you do it, but you know, some of our lenders, you just need some basic information about the property and you with your credit score, and you can at least find out what the deal would look like.
One thing, Eric, these, have you found, if you line up your deal correctly, you can close these very fast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can. In a
You
couple of
know,
weeks, couple of
I'd say
weeks.
2.5 to 3 weeks, right?
Yeah, you can. Yep. Yeah, it's you can, a couple of weeks.
So like my
Yep.
deal now, I've got it with the underwriter. She doesn't know if she's gonna win the offer on it or get an accepted offer, but at least I got it in front of them. And if, you know, if she does get it, we're gonna go fast on it.
Right. Now, the other thing I'll mention is some lenders that do these, they're not supposed to do these for primary residences because, well, they're not, they cannot do a true no doc loan if it's your primary because of the ability to repay rule. So to protect themselves, they may ask you to put this under an LLC. So you
Yep.
might run into that with some of the lenders where it's not a big deal. You can do it online in just a few minutes. And a lot of investors don't even set up the LLC until they're in contract on the property because they use the property address as the LLC name. So then they open up a bank account for it and operate it as its own business. But you might find that you may need to do that. So be prepared to for that.
I would definitely expect to have to do that because that defines it as a business purpose loan.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
No,
let me
I have
ask you this.
Yep.
I've actually had a couple of my lenders, I've never done this, but they actually say if you buy it with your LLC and you decide that you're going to flip it, except you as an individual now want to buy it to occupy it. Have you ever seen that scenario, Eric? Now, obviously, you got to get a loan somewhere else and go the
Right.
conventional route or non-QM, whichever way you go. But I've been told, because it's kind of a gray area at that point, you have now completed the property, you're going to flip it, and you as the individual now want to buy it to occupy it. I have not done that.
Yeah,
They
the
actually
only
said that to me.
weird thing, Dale, the only messed up part about that is now you're having to put a down payment on a property you already own.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. No, I
you know,
agree. Like I can't really wrap my mind around it, you know?
yeah, I understand. You know, maybe there's a way to, you know, get yourself on the deed, and I don't know, and do
Yeah.
you know,
We'll have an
like
answer,
right.
we'll have an answer for you next Thursday.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. Maybe you can get yourself on the deed and get the LLC off of it right before you, and then you refinance it. I don't know. We got to figure out the legalities of all those things, but you know, there's got to be a way.
Absolutely. But that's all I
Yep.
have to say tonight.
That's all I got.
Same here. It's a good
All right,
conversation, everyone.
everybody. Hopefully see everybody next Thursday. Thanks for joining us, Eric. We appreciate it.
You got great speaking with you guys. Thank
All
you.
right. Bye-bye.
Have a great night. Thanks.
You too.
Bye.